Question. Is it a sin to spank your child, to spank your children? Is it wrong? It's 2025. Is it a sin to spank your child?
Let's talk about it. All right, well, welcome to the Then Comes Love podcast. We are your hosts, Wendell and Anidra, and we are keeping it real about the things that we face in marriage.
Yes.
And there are many facets to marriage.
Yes.
There are many things that come with this thing called marriage. We got communication, we've got finances, we've got intimacy, but the thing that we need to talk about today would be parenting.
Yes, parenting and dealing with children, because we're in the middle of the holiday season and we have aunties and uncles and cousins and children and there's just a lot going on and we just sometimes we get a little aggravated and sometimes we're not aggravated. Sometimes kids can just be out of control.
Yeah, and let's be real for a second too. I'm sure that we have with our followers, that we have people with young kids,
Sure. People
with older kids. Maybe you don't have kids, but because it takes a village to raise kids,
Yes, it does.
You are part of somebody's child's life. Like you talked about, you are uncle or aunt, godmom, to kids. And so I think it hits a lot of us. And I think something that, depending on where we are in the season of parenting, if we're new parents,
let's start from the
we
bottom
can
to the
be
top.
tired. If you are older parents, you tired. And so I think either way, we need to be reminded of the importance of, I would say, maybe freshening our skills, just talking about this thing called parenting. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Dating. When we were dating, parenting was not something that we talked about. We did not talk about how we were going to raise our kids. We didn't talk about
That's
that
fair.
stuff.
I don't think most young people who are dating talk about that anyway.
But they should. Well, let's say if you are considering marriage, it is important. If you're engaged, it is really important to talk about how you're going to parent your kids, because it shouldn't be something that you figure out once you
just
get married.
wing it.
Yeah, now that's what we did. But and thankfully we had parents that modeled
Sure.
great parenting for us. So we kind of watched what they did, but we shouldn't assume that as couples that we're going to be on the same page.
Jinx.
Yes. So it's important to talk about it. So one of the things that, our parents, I'm going to say, my parents, they didn't play when it came to discipline. Okay. They did not play. So one of the things that we knew from the beginning was we weren't going to play when it comes to disciplining our kids.
Okay.
Like I can tell y'all a story. There was one day that we were invited over somebody's house. Now, first of all, when our kids come to your house, there ain't gonna be no running around, jumping all over the furniture. They ain't gonna be like it. They're not gonna act like it's Chuck E. Cheese, McDonald's, Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, our kids.
Yes.
Oh, we have a conversation before we get inside
there
the
ain't
house.
none of that. So we don't allow that. Okay. So one day we have 4 kids. Our kids are little. We got 3 boys, which normally boys are the ones that they got so much energy and they're given permission to kind of, they just boys or they just kids.
That's
But
okay.
anyway,
No, it ain't okay.
That ain't okay. So we had three boys, a girl, young kids, 4 of them. And whenever we were invited to someone's home, there was one time where, we were invited over. Everybody brought their kids. And so it's like 20 kids in the den. Okay. They wrestling, jumping all on the floor.
Hold on. You need to give context to this, because it's not because if we were invited to an adult function.
Yes. And everybody brought their kids.
Past his house.
Yes.
You're not going to act crazy At the
at the
pastor's
pastor's
house.
house. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes. So everybody brought their kids, and okay, now we're all in the den or whatever. The kids are wrestling on the floor and jumping all around, running everywhere, playing dress up and all of this stuff. And one day, in this moment, Wendell and I are sitting at the table, and we can see into the den, and we're looking at all these kids running around, wrestling on the floor, playing dress up, doing all this stuff. And you know where our kids were? On the couch, just like this.
Sitting right on that couch, quiet, looking around like, yeah.
Now, y'all probably say, dang, why ain't y'all let the kids be kids? You ain't going to talk about my kids about they were misbehaving, they ain't know how to act. We're not doing that, because those little kids, they do grow up to be big kids. And so we just didn't play with that. So they were sitting their tails on that couch. Don't you move. Don't you act like you don't have no home training in these people's house. Don't you embarrass us.
Yes. That's fair. That's accurate. Ditto to all that.
Yes. So we can play.
And for us, I like, you talked about your family, like y'all didn't play, but now my mom, not so much my father.
Did you get a spanking?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, not often, because I didn't have siblings my age to get me in trouble. It was just me. I got spanking for not doing schoolwork, stuff like that. But for me, I would watch my mom, spank my older brother, and not even spank because they're so much older than me. They call her beating. That's what they call it. My older brother.
Get your tail tore up.
And sometimes you have to have the other kids come and bear witness. You know what I'm saying? We got to. Sometimes when it's time to lay it down, everybody else need to see, because because put the fear of God in you. Proverbs 13:24 says, "Those who spare the rod those who spare the rod hate their children, and those who are diligent in tagging them, they love the children." And that's something that I was raised on. And so I never went to jail. I don't have no criminal record. You know what I'm saying? And my problem, they ain't had no problems with me because I got belt to hind parts. And I'm not talking about abuse. No. We're not talking about that. We're talking about parents who
Healthy
love their children, the whole nine. But my mom, she never did a whole lot of counting. It wasn't no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And let you say that you were gonna call the police on let me say that in my house. Like nowadays, it'd be like, if you hit me, I'll call the police. My dad be like, call them.
Yeah.
I'll give you a reason to call.
Now, I will say everyone's parenting style is different, and no one's right, no one's
We ain't
wrong.
sitting in no timeout.
We do have 4 kids, and every child is different. Now, one of our kids, he does not need the spanking
That's
because
true.
he knows how to listen. You tell him something one time, he does it. Now, I may have to, fuss. If you fuss at him, like the whole world is over.
That's true.
But then we have another child who he may need that discipline we're talking about.
So you got to discipline according to each child.
Right.
It's
And then-
not one rule applies to all.
And then as we got older, our youngest child needed discipline, but somebody don't want to do nothing to them. So
Listen,
they
I'm
get away
tired.
with
That's
murder.
why I can say, that's why I made the comment about depending on where you are in that season of parenting. Look, I'm tired. This is a 4-child girl. Be quiet, and I ain't got the energy to be sitting up here spanking you and carrying you all around the house.
It's more important that we lay down some form of discipline and a form of healthy fear. Your children need to be somewhat afraid of you in a healthy, respectful way. Your kid doesn't need to be, when you're in public and you tell your kid to come here, he don't need to be like, get out my face, I do what I want to do.
Or no.
No. And
I
run off
wish
like,
you
hold
would.
on, man, let's work on who is the parent, who's the child. Let's work on that. Because I've seen some things. I ain't gonna call nobody out on this podcast, but I've seen some things.
But here's the thing. I think we can all say, as when we become parents, we know what it was like when we were kids.
Sure.
And I think the thing that we try to do is we try to give our kids what we didn't have, and we try to do the opposite sometimes of what we got.
Okay.
And so I think in that we try to do things differently, but in doing that, sometimes we can, I'm going to use the word, miss it with our kids, because it's now in my generation, I like we've said already, my parents were great parents, great parents. And one of the things that I tried to, just to give you an example of what I just said, my parents were not very open with us, meaning like we shared before, they didn't argue in front of us. I never saw them get into a disagreement. My parents didn't talk to me about sex. They didn't talk to me about come in my room like, hey, so how are you doing? Or I don't know if your mom or dad talked to you about masturbation.
Whoa.
I'm just saying about the things that I'm just saying.
My dad?
Yes. I'm just saying. So
I
when
will say this. I ain't mean to cut you off because I know she. But I did have the sex talk.
but I'm just saying. My parents were not. I'm just saying that my parents were not. Didn't have those conversations. So what I try to do is because I didn't get that, I try to do that with my kids. And I not that I'm trying to be their friend because it's not. They need a parent, not a friend. That I tried to have open communication with them. So if there was, I talked to my kids about pornography. I talked to my kids about masturbation. We talk about it at the dinner table. Now, some of y'all, we have. Some of y'all be like, what? You do that? Well, I wanted to give my kids something that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And maybe...
That's open lines of communication.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes what I'm trying to say is I think sometimes we go overboard.
Sure.
And there needs to be a balance. And so I get it when we're that discipline our children and when talking about spanking them. Maybe for somebody they felt like, oh, well, my parents went too far, or because parenting that does happen.
Yes,
you do find your triggers and all of that stuff, but that's why they don't do it because they feel like, well, I don't want to give my child what I had. My parents went too far. Okay. But you got to be careful with that because, as I said, your kids don't need a friend; they need a parent. Yeah. And, all of those things that are cute when they're little, when they tell you to shut up and, they hit you in your face and you're like, oh, Billy, don't do that. Or
why I gotta be Billy?
Wanda, I gave both.
Okay, you said Wanda. Okay,
Wanda, don't do that, and you don't.
Get off the floor, Wanda, and I told you now.
Yeah, and you telling them 3 or 4 times and you think it's cute or you're tired. We have to make sure we are disciplining our kids because they do get older.
Yes, they do.
They do get older. And then we wonder, when they get older and they start to talk back and they don't respect authority, they're getting in trouble at school. And then you wonder why I can't, they're doing this and they're doing that. Well, think about how you taught them when they were 1. Right. So.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing about children is, as you said, they grow up. They don't stay children forever. And there is an age where maybe, they're out of the spanking age now. Okay?
Let's talk about it.
Now,
Let's talk about that.
But they still in my house though.
Yes. Let's talk. I got some good stuff for that.
So we're not, you might be tall. Well, you weren't ever taller than me. They may have been taller than you.
Well, yeah, because I'm 5'3".
You ain't nothing. But as far as height goes,
I think that's good because when our kids are smaller, we have, I'm going to say, more control.
Yeah.
We can spank. We can, if that's what you do, you can, put them in timeout, put them on punishment. When they become teenagers, take away that phone.
That's it.
Okay, my child would have a meltdown.
Look like she was having a seizure because I took her phone away.
Yes, take away that phone.
Like, maybe I should take this a little bit longer.
Yes,
she was crazy.
Yes,
Daddy, please.
Yes, yes. So we can take away the phone, but let me tell you something. You think that parenting is hard when your kids are 3, 4, 5, terrible twos, whatever you want to say. But I'm gonna tell you something. Raising adults is hard. It is hard because you can no longer spank. You can no longer put them in timeout. And if they won't listening to you at 2, they sure as heck won't listen to you at 22.
Well, you skipped over the teen stage. I was trying to get them. Okay.
Well, go do the teens.
Well, no. They're all the same. It's just that now this like when they're a certain age. At one point, you were their world, and whatever you said was golden, and they believed you. And as they get older, they question you now, and they're like, "You're not as smart as I thought you were, Mom or Dad." And now, Billy over here, he says this. Billy is 13 years old, and I'm grown, and I'm telling you, Billy is not wrong. But they're more influence over friends, and so now there has to be like, you're looking at friends here, and you're trying to make sure your children are raised correctly, and it's a pain. It could be difficult.
Our kids try to, you know how they compare. Well, Billy's parents said that they can do this, or Wanda's parents. I'm like, what's Wanda's last name?
I mean,
the last name ain't Butler. So if it ain't Butler, then what they do is what they do. What we do is what we do.
Right. And why are we talking about disciplining your kids right now? This is a marriage podcast. Here's the thing: children can interfere with your marriage if you don't have the proper discipline in place. So what I'm saying to you is, if mom says do something and they don't necessarily want to do it, and if I don't reinforce what mom says, it could be conflict between her and I.
It can cause division between us.
Absolutely. So this is why we have to be on the same page, because for me, it was always hard because I'm so chill. And when I come home from work or whatever it is I'm doing, and I come through the door and Nisha says, let me tell you what such and such did. You need to tear their tail up. I'm like, huh? I don't, but I ain't mad.
But see, and the thing with that is when he wouldn't, if we weren't on the same page, one of the things that I'll go back to my parents that I loved about my dad was that he would always say, what did your mother say? What did your mother say? Don't do that to your, don't you talk to your mother like that. He would always intervene, letting us know that he had my mom's back. So when I would come to Wendell and I'd be like, well, I'm going to use Jayden or Kai or Soren did this, Malia did this, and it wouldn't faze him. It made me feel like he didn't have my back. Right. And so that's why it's important to talk about parenting styles and how you're going to parent. You have to be on the same page, because we used to get in arguments about how you discipline.
Well, because again, we talked about we're from two different families, so things that were a big deal for her growing up, it wasn't a big deal for me. Prime example. And I'll even say you're right in the situation, but it's still prime example. When I was growing up, I was allowed to go in the kitchen, grab whatever I wanted to grab out the refrigerator, out the pantry. I ain't have to ask permission to get food. I just grab food and eat. And I was an athlete, so I was always hungry. And so it wasn't a big deal. This thing.
Why I got to be this thing?
I'm sorry. When one of the kids would grab something, she would go bonkers.
I'm like, you gotta ask.
I'm like, girl, calm down. They can get, whatever they want to get. Yada, yada, yada. But
listen, times was hard for us, okay? It was hard around the boulevard. Yeah. So if we wanted something to eat, we had to ask, because we were trying to stretch what we had.
Yeah. And I was kind of like an only child in a sense, though, because like I told you before, my siblings were older, and I had 4 kids, and 3 of them boys, and they liked to eat, and they would eat us out of house and home. So I got it. Took me a while, but it was just, I was using it for an example. There are times where you would just get upset at things because it's how you were raised. Sure. And there were times where I'm a chill person anyway. It takes a lot to really get me upset like that. And because of that, it took a lot for me to really have to yank a child up, because I had so much patience. Yeah.
And we did, and he did, we did teach. I am definitely fire and he's ice. Yeah. And so there were definitely things, I think we balance each other out for sure. But there were things that I learned from you, and I was like, okay.
Of course.
Anyway, and I was like, okay. He was like, listen, babe, they're hungry. Why should they? This is their house. They should feel comfortable in their own house. Not that.
But they definitely should ask. We're going to be going to the pantry and eating up everything for sure.
Well, they don't ask. We don't make our kids ask for snacks or food.
They did when they were younger. Remember, because we would buy those little oatmeal pies and stuff like that. They would ask for stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I mean.
Yeah, because I guess you got to have.
But as we got older, it's a little different.
Yeah. So. But there were things that he definitely, taught me that I'm like, okay, and not that, my experience was different. Anyway, there are things that he taught me as far as discipline. There are things that we can learn from each other.
For sure.
And so, so with parenting, but I want to also talk about something else. Are we done with the teen years?
Go ahead.
All right. Adult years. Okay.
This is where we are right now, by the way.
It is where we are. And I think we try to, I'm going to stop saying I think. We try to raise godly men, women, respectful men and women. And when they become older, you want them to be able to be, free to make their own decisions and all that good stuff. That's why how you parent them in the younger years are important, because and what you and let me also say, we also model not by just what we say, but what we do. And so they're learning from all of that. But let's talk about something like, for instance, curfews. Okay. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was, one of the things our kids, no matter how old you are, whether you are 42 or 82, if you live up in here, you're not gonna be coming up and out of my house all times of the night. And
It's a
number
respect.
two, yes, it is. It's a respect thing. And number two, you will always go to church. Now, if you want to make a decision that you don't want to go to church, then you move out and get your own apartment.
go.
But here, you're going to follow our rules. There are rules. When you move out, then you get to get promoted to make your own rules. Yeah. But I was talking to one of my friends one day, and she was like, "Well, I don't make them go to church. I just ask them to do it." And I'm like, now I'm not trying to, hey, I ain't trying to judge, because sowing and reaping is real. I'm not trying to judge.
But can I just say something? You should never feel uncomfortable about anything in your house.
And I won't say that they felt uncomfortable.
You
Maybe
wanted-
they wanted them to go to church.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, they wanted to go to
It's
church.
bothering me.
And I was just like, look, as long as you are under my roof with my kids, as long as you are under my roof, you're going to do what I say.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do what I say, then you need to move out, and you need to pay your own bills and do what you're going to do. And then I don't care what you do. I hope that you would still do the things that we instilled some great things into you, but that's on you. You're going to have to give an account for yourself.
Yeah.
But as long as you up in this house, you're going to do what I say.
Sure.
And I think, and it's not control, at least I don't think it's
And
controlling.
I don't care what you say. It can be controlled. Move out. I'm not trying to make it comfortable for you. No way.
True that.
Okay. So, yeah. But as I think about having adult children, because they come to you with their problems, you give them your answer and how they to do things, and they go off and do something completely different.
That's so
and
irritating.
it made me think about something just now. Imagine how God feels
About us.
when we come to Him about our issues. He gives us instructions in His Word and things to do, and we
we
go
do our
off and
own
do
thing.
everything. I think it's like we're getting a little small taste of what it's like. I mean, grown kids, right?
And there's grace. There was a time with one of our kids that we would do that. We would just keep telling them, do this, do this, do this. And of course they were an adult, and so it would go in one ear and out the other. They decided they wanted to do their own thing. And I remember one day thinking like, oh God, I've done everything I know to do. I'm done. And I remember hearing the Lord say, finally, you finally figured out that there is nothing that you can do. This is my child. And then too,
Wash your
yeah,
hands.
you got to let as our pastor says, we can't save our kids from God. There are things that God is going to have to teach them that you can't. And it's hard. It is hard as parents to watch your kids make the wrong decisions and to go through things that they don't have to learn things the hard way. But what you just said is God gives grace. He extends grace to us, and we have to allow our kids to learn things on their own. Now we can, we can set the boundaries. We can put the rules can be in place, but we've got to extend grace. Like even for church, like yes, they're gonna go because that's a rule in our house. But whether they have a relationship with the Lord and all of that I only can do what I can do. That is their choice. I made the choice that I'm going to be a believer, that I'm going to be a follower of Christ. And I have to allow my children to make that decision. They're going to discover things on their own. They're going to figure it out on their own. And we can't put it in their face. And so just like God is gracious to us, we have to be gracious to our kids. And so that taught me a lot with our kids, and just learning that I cannot control them. I can teach them things.
Sure.
I can give them advice, but I can't control things. But it's a fine line, I guess.
I mean, we learn so much through our failures, and we have to sometimes just allow them to fail. watch them
That's
get in
hard.
that car. Not literally, but watch them get in that car and drive right into that car wreck. And knowing, hey, if you go that way, you're going to fail. But watching them and letting them fail is pretty hard. But sometimes, like I said, our biggest failures have taught us so much. And so, I mean, yeah, that's the hardest part of parenting, because you could just be like, when they're small, you'd be like, hey, don't do that. That's the end of it. But now it's like, hey, you shouldn't do that, and you do. Okay, you're gonna do it.
And I guess that's the way you parent. You're like, hey, this is my advice to you. You know, if you do that, it's your choice. You know, and kind of give them the freedom. And I think too, as they're, we're talking about the younger years, teenage years, it's important to start allowing them to make decisions. Like, what do you think? Jaden, Kai, Soren, Malia, what do you think the consequence should be for this? What do you think that, you should do in this situation? Start allowing them to, think about those things, even as younger kids. But yeah, I think parenting will definitely test your patience.
Yes.
For sure. Listen, don't give up, mom and dad. No. Don't give up. We in this together. Yeah. And I don't think any of us have it all figured out.
And it never ends. Cause my mother told me,
you never stop being a parent.
She never stopped being a parent, and she got great grandchildren now, and her children still, she says, calling her with things and issues, and so it never ends.
And you still worry about them.
Yeah,
you still worry about them, which that never goes away. But I think our kids turned out okay, especially, as I know in our house, I was a PK, so our house was a glass house. That means everybody saw in. Everything that I did was on Front Street. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we did for our kids was to let them be kids. And so now they won't go run around your house. They're not going to run around the church acting like they're crazy. They're not going to talk to me any kind of way, because they will get popped in their mouth. But we let them be kids, like we let them make mistakes. I can remember the conversations I had with my kids about sex and about masturbation and about all of these things, and making them feel, not making them feel embarrassed to have those conversations.
Some of them.
Well, it's a part, letting them know it's a part of life.
Yeah.
We don't want you to do it, and we don't want you to do this, we don't want you to do that. But if you do, talk to us about it. We don't want you to go to anybody else. We want you to feel like you can come to us. And so there are a lot of things that we learned along the way. Now, that don't mean we had it all right.
No.
Like you said, there are definitely some mistakes that we made.
That oldest one, sheesh.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we was doing. He turned out all right, though, but boy. Yeah. And I tell you what, I have no problem apologizing to my kids. I'm not going to allow pride to set in. Matter of fact, I think it's great that they see me apologize to them. Hey, I am not perfect. I'm dad. Hey, I'm sorry. Because I know a friend of mine was talking about his dad would, he would do some things sometimes that was wrong, and his dad would just never apologize because that pride is, I'm the dad, I ain't apologizing for nothing. Nah.
Yeah, they need to see that we make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that we're not perfect, and neither they don't need to be either. That we get it wrong sometimes. So anyway, well, we hope that this has helped you. I know, like I said, it takes a village to raise kids. And so if we can learn from one another, let's do it. And so we hope that you continue to follow along with us as we talk about the many facets, the many different topics and the different things that we face in marriage. And we hope that we can encourage you along the way.
Yes, please support, subscribe.
Yeah, share. Yeah, let us know
follow.
If there's some things that you want to hear, some topics you want to hear that we can talk about. We would love to share our experience with you and hope that it would be a blessing to you.
But until then, we'll see you next time
on the Then Comes Love podcast. We'll see you later. Bye.